Hi there. In this short video, what I want to do is to explore the module information section of your Blackboard site, because this is quite an important part of the course. It sort of sets the scene for your students about what they can expect, but not all of the information is necessarily provided automatically. When you first go to this page, you see this this element here, which is a hidden piece of text. And it's basically explaining what it's intended to be for this section, but basically it's meant to include information like a brief module synopsis, a list of the learning outcomes, syllabus and main assessment components. Not all of these are automatically provided, although some of them are. Not all information is provided. So, for example, if I go to a real life site, this is one of my courses, and I go to module information, what you will see is information that is generated automatically for you. So module synopsis, syllabus, learning outcomes, these are populated for you by Blackboard itself, using little widgets that talk to the course catalogue. And it's important that you realise this, because this information is, as I said, it's copied, and therefore it needs to be correct in the right place. So if I go over to Academic Records, Modules, Module Maintenance, and navigate down to that course that I just looked at, so this is EG 247, so I'm going to filter for that course code. And that brings up this picture. Now this is the form where you enter the data for your modules, and this is where the data needs to be correct. So it's important that if there's anything you want to change in the automatic text that gets put into your Blackboard site, this is where you change it, because you don't want to be changing in Blackboard, because then it won't filter through. So you can see there's a lot of information on this page. This is a synopsis. This is what gets printed into the Blackboard site for you. There's some notes, they don't get copied. Delivery method is not copied. This information about whether it's taught in Welsh is not copied. The aims are copied, and the learning outcomes sections are copied. But then we've got other sections like transferable skills, syllabus, reading list. That gets into Blackboard in another way. We'll see that in a little bit. And then you've got legacy reading lists, and then information about what you do about to cope with disabled students, your assessment schemes, your component descriptors for your assessment, feedback, assessment provision for students with disabilities, how students redeem failure, and then information about the JAX codes and prerequisites and so on, whether you use e-learning, what assessment activities you're going to use e-learning for, and so on. A lot of information there, which of course should be correct, and that information is automatically copied into College of Engineering handbooks, and it's also, some of it, as I said, is copied into Blackboard, but only 3 sections of that information: module synopsis, syllabus, and learning outcomes. This is because the module form has expanded over time, whereas the minimum standards and the support for the minimum standards has not really developed beyond where we started from. Now, some of this information would be very important to include in your Blackboard site, for example, the assessment criteria. But there's another way you enter that, and I'll show you that in another video in a little bit. But this information is not copied, but it's vital. But you could argue some of this other information is also quite important. But the problem is, if you copy the text from your Blackboard site and copy the text from the college and paste it into your Blackboard site, then there's a danger that you will change it, say in Blackboard, forget to change it in the catalogue, or vice versa, and so quickly the text becomes out of sync, and so you want to avoid that where possible. So my recommendation is to include a link to the actual module descriptor, which is talking to the live data. So if I click on that, you'll see it takes me to the catalogue page, which is the view that students get of the same information. So they get the information, but they get it in a form that is more guaranteed to be accurate. Although, as you notice on this page, you don't actually see details of the assessment criteria and things, but they are copied into the exam system, so they're copied. So there are even some problems with the data that's live on the intranet. So how do I get this? View? Well, the easiest way to find that is to go to the intranet, academic records, modules, and this time look for module catalogue, and you're looking for a particular code, so you just type it down here, and you can make sure the date is current year, and you search that, and then you get the page, and this is the link that you want to paste into your code. So if I click on that, copy that, go over to Blackboard, and what I want to do is insert a new item, so I'll insert a web link, and what you do then is say something like course catalogue. Entry, and paste that link in there. You can don't have to do this, but basically you notice what's the key fields are UG 247 and the year, academic year 17-18. You can give a description if you wish, and then submit. And then you've got a link to the live data, which is guaranteed to be kept up to date as you change things. And then on changing things themselves, what you need to do is you change them in the module descriptor. You've got to make sure that you're looking at the actual year that you're dealing with, in this case 17-18. So make sure that you're selecting the previous year, the current year, and then you can edit this text here to update your records. You shouldn't really change anything that's going to affect assessment, or the way you assess, or the feedback and those kinds of things, because essentially those are contracts with your students for the current year. So my advice is you can make small changes here if you decide that you've got some spelling errors, or you want to change a little bit of the syllabus. But if you want to change the course with assessment and that kind of thing, you should do next year's course and make those changes there, and these get rolled over every year. But as I said, a lot of this information, transferable skills, quite arguably you'd want to include that in your Blackboard site for the benefit of your students. But be careful that if you do copy text from here, that you keep it up to date. And hopefully in the future more of these fields will get automatically copied into the Blackboard site for you, so you don't have to worry about it.